podcast. We're going to be talking about Andor episode 8. And I feel like I say this every week, but like the show's writing and tension building is insane and it keeps building up from episode to episode and it's good stuff. So I can't wait to dive into it more, have an awesome group of people. And yeah, we'll be talking Andor right here on the high ground. Hello and welcome, my beautiful guests. How are you guys doing?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited to jump in here. We have some new faces here, and so we want everyone to kind of get to know everyone. So we're gonna start with I'm gonna go around, have you introduce yourself, where we can find your awesome content, and I asked this question recently, but I liked it, so I'm gonna ask it again. Um, you are going to go out and party, you're going to go get drunk, you're going to have a great weekend or whatever. Who in Star Wars are you hanging out with? Who's your drinking buddy? Who's going out there with you? All right, so we'll kind of go around. We'll start with Chris first.
Hey, everybody. I'm Chris. I have 3 podcasts now. Dark Side Divas, which is a Star Wars podcast I do with my bestie Stephanie. Marvelous Divas. Also do with my bestie Stephanie. It's a Marvel podcast, and on both those podcasts, we're doing the chronological order of all visual media for both of those IPs. And then that was funny. And then I have just launched the 3rd podcast for Light and Dice, which is a tabletop role-playing Star Wars game podcast, which has been super fun to do. And I would party with Qui-Gon Jinn because, hello, hippie, Jedi, totally down with that.
All right, no, I can see that. That's a great choice. I like it. And how about you, Aaron?
Oh, me? Sorry, I'm so sorry. I was going to say, I feel like with Qui-Gon, you'd probably be doing something else as opposed to drinking. Maybe a bit of
the smoking would be a lot, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Crossfade action. But yeah, Aaron, how about you? Where who are you? Where can we find your content? And who are you partying with?
Hi, I'm Erin. You can find me over at TikTok on thought/_space, which, saying it out loud now, I realize how semi-inappropriate that name is, but it is just a play on word of Queen's album Hot Space, and I never changed it. So, and you can also find me on Instagram at gin.andors. Mostly at Actimon. I'm active on both of them, but TikTok seems to be where my main central audience is. I do mostly meme joke videos, things like that. Have a fun time, really. Also, Chris, big fan of Dark Side Divas.
Oh,
I love seeing those videos on my For You page every single day. So
yeah, I love it. And then we also have who are you partying with?
Oh yeah. I don't know why Jin Urso first came to mind. I feel like she'd be a really great drinking buddy, but also like she'd start off the night pretty strong and then, just dissolve into chaos as we go along. She seems like that kind of person.
I can definitely see that. If there's a bar fight breaking out, I think she's someone that you'll want to have in your corner. So, no, I definitely approve.
I'd be holding you back.
Yeah. I would stand behind her.
All the girls in the bathroom, all the drunk girls.
Awesome. And last but not least, we have Emily.
Hi, I'm your Weird Aunt Emily on TikTok and EK Anderson on Twitter, EK_Anderson on Twitter. I'm a writer, and I also make jewelry and stuff. And I'm the sober sister at any event. I actually can't have alcohol. But I feel like Bodhi Rook and I would have a good time over a cup of coffee. Like we'd just be sitting there in the corner at the party, observing.
Yeah. Sometimes it's fun to watch other people be stupid. That's cool as well.
Drag them.
Emily makes the best stuff, y'all. You really should check her stuff out. It's amazing.
Thank you.
And has always been awesome in the comment sections of everything and insightful. So I was pretty adamant that she join us. Thank you for trusting me.
Yeah.
Shout out to Died in the Force. That's Pep Party All Night with Bix. shout out to this fantastic panel. Yeah, I love Bix. I can't party with Bix. I think my wife would get mad at me, so I'm gonna have to look elsewhere. But you know what? I'm gonna party with Laura Santeca. Because you know that guy's got stories. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you're gonna hear some stuff. It's gonna change your life. You'll probably end up depressed, but like it'd be cathartic in a way. You know, that's
Probably got some, like deep cut Luke stories or something like that.
Yeah.
He's seen Luke do things that he shouldn't have seen.
Absolutely. And you know, so before we jump into talking Andor, I have a question, because we actually had another drop. You know, we had Tales of the Jedi drop. I was curious if you guys jumped into that already, and if so, have you guys all finished it?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
No.
I needed to.
Yeah.
I needed after this Andor episode, I needed to be cleansed. I needed happiness and joy. I got that in the first episode, and it's amazing. A lot of Star Wars today, a lot of amazing Star Wars today, but totally different than Andor.
It's the exact opposite. Of
Exact
Andor
opposite,
is
yeah.
what it is.
Yeah, I'm
and
saving
Emily,
it for the weekend. Like I'm trauma now and cleanse later.
Well, it's still trauma. That's because it's still Star Wars.
True. Yeah, they're not all as lighthearted as the first episode. So you know, without any spoilers, what do you guys just think overall?
I really enjoyed it, to be honest. It was different from maybe what I'd been imagining it to be, what it was going to be, but it was still really interesting. I found myself being drawn more to like the Count Dooku episodes. The Ahsoka episodes were great, and I loved those. And yes, there were some sad moments in those, but like the stuff with Dooku, I thought was really, really interesting, and I really liked how that really expanded upon his character more.
Nice.
Yeah, just hearing the same voice actors from Clone Wars getting another shot to do those characters again just warmed my heart. And the animation glow up, even from season 7 Clone Wars to Tales of the Jedi, is just phenomenal and amazing.
Yeah. And in the panel, Dave Filoni was talking about how cool it was to see the new technology that Jen Corbett has been using in the Bad Batch, and then being jealous and like, I'm going to use that too. And so he did. And so happy he got to play around in the sandbox again. Hopefully this will lead to more. But yeah, I also found the Count Dooku stuff to be a lot more interesting. Also, shout out to Conspiracy Cantina stopping by and dropping some love. Handsome and beautiful panel this episode. I certainly appreciate it. Thank you, Jedi Master DePaul. And Chill in the Basement showed up as well. Hello there. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this episode of Andor. So, episode 8. Just overall, you know, we're not going too spoilery. We'll break it down after, but you know, where do you kind of rate this episode in the grand scheme of Andor? And yeah, just your general thoughts. Where are you guys at with it?
I feel like it was a really hard episode to watch.
Yeah.
It was just there wasn't a lot of like catharsis or like hopeful feeling. It was very, very dark. And for me, like I left it just feeling lost, which for me makes it harder to rank within all of Andor, because you know it's part of this larger arc. So the release schedule they're doing with it is a little bit difficult.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel that. How do you guys feel?
I didn't like it. I want to kind of clarify why, but I think objectively, cinematography was excellent. The script was excellent. The acting was on point. Everything was fantastic from the technical side. But I came out of it feeling very angry and very hopeless and traumatized, more so than a Star Wars would normally traumatize me. I felt like I was watching a Darren Aronofsky version of Star Wars almost. It leaned real hard into the sci-fi. It completely abandoned fantasy, and I hate the weekly release schedule because I really want to see that light at the end of the tunnel. Now I'm ready for it, but it was so dark and bleak for me. I don't see the show getting there at this point. I know it will. It's supposed to, right? Theoretically, but it was just so dark. I don't know. I I am now wondering if I should just wait for all of Andor just to finish and then get back into it at this point.
Okay, that's I definitely get that because this episode's real. Like, I mean, and they've been doing stuff that is happening in our real world, that is uncomfortable to think about and deal with. I have been appreciating the way it's been covering it, but what did you think, Aaron?
I really enjoyed the episode. I mean, like, I thought the way it was like so dystopian almost. I feel kind of like an emotionless monster now because I could objectively see that the things that we were seeing, like in the prison and all that, was I could objectively understand why it was really difficult for someone to watch, but for me, I was like, yes, this is very bad. But I still want to see more, like not like in a I like seeing people suffer kind of way. It was still just a very good episode, and I mean, I just literally watched the newest episode of The Handmaid's Tale, season 5 earlier, so like I'm very used to like.
So another
suffering.
uplifting show is what you're saying is what you just saw. So
It's a lighthearted romp,
lighthearted romp. Petri dish shallow. It's great.
You're folding clothes, you turn on Handmaid's Tale, No, that's interesting. All right, well, let's kind of beginning of the episode. We start straight away with we jump straight into Andor kind of starting to get processed and being sent off to prison. What with that storyline with Andor in the prison, I'm curious, what jumps out at you guys. Also, the prison looked a lot like Marvel's The Raft, and so that made me chuckle a little bit. But yeah, and then also seeing the guards like I recognized those snowboarding boots that they're wearing, but those were the old school 5150 from back in the day when you had to rent your boots, But yeah, I mean, it was a difficult storyline, but yeah, how did you feel about Andor in prison? The way the prison was set up, and Andy Serkis popping up.
I love him.
I was shocked. I did kind of gasp very loudly. I wasn't expecting that at all.
I didn't recognize him at first because I think I've only ever seen him as like creatures. Yeah. So when I saw his name pop up, I was like, "Wait, who was that?"
Yeah, he's still serving that dirty hot realness though in the prison. The prison. Do you remember how in Solo the Millennium Falcon looked all pristine and clean and a much lighter? I felt like the prison reminded me of the inside of the Death Star, except it was bleach white and clear as opposed to it being like silver and gray like the Death Star was. And so I love the set design a lot. But then like the prison itself, it was a character almost. It was its own character. And all that the dark android voice that they had and all the lighting and the systems in place, it was very brutal.
And I think right off the top, when Cassian is being processed into the prison, they tell him this is the nice prison. This is cleaner than what you've probably seen before. We're not going to have to brutalize you very much, which is obviously a lie. And I think we're supposed to really be contrasting that to Wobani, which is where Jin is at the start of Rogue One. Wobani is dirty. It has traditional doors and locks. There are women there. There are disabled people there, which I think is more in Rebel Rising. You see more of that, where people are like becoming unfit to work from the work. And there's aliens. This prison that we see only has able-bodied young men, mostly young men. And I think it's very strange to be like walking into a prison as someone who literally didn't do anything to be there and be told, like, look at our wonderful, beautiful, nice prison. Isn't this impressive? But then to also have this contrasted with where the people who can't work are going, or the people who can do lesser work are going. That is the main thing I took away when we first saw the prison.
Yeah. Yeah, it's man, it was fascinating the way that it was set up and how they pit the prisoners against each other, when in reality, Andrew did nothing wrong. But now he's like has to compete so that he can get food with flavor, and you're like, uh, it was painful to watch, because these people, and as they stated, all of a sudden all of their sentences doubled, based off of this, the farce of a decree. And it just hurt, because this is, a real issue with, prison is just a new way to have slave labor that you don't have, and that's exactly what these people are being exploited by. I think this is them ramping up the effort to create the Death Star, and they just need labor, and this is the only way that they know how to do it. Yeah, any further thoughts on it?
I was kind of wondering, like, what is it? Are they actually building throughout the entire episode? I was like, are they building? I just assumed it was like a war tech or something like that. But if it is confirmed to be the Death Star, that makes me incredibly sad that it's like, because it's like Cassian went to prison and built these things to build the Death Star, and that is the thing that unfortunately inevitably ends his life. That's kind of that is just a real, it's just a real bummer, to be honest.
It would be such a Star Wars thing, right? You build the thing that ends up killing you ultimately.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I think it's like,
looking at you, Obi-Wan.
but I think like what Chris said about the production design, it just made me think like this whole pristine prison and the contrast with how the people are being treated. Like brutal things are happening here with the weird electric floor and stuff like that, and it's happening in this really nice, sanitized, clean space. And the fact that they don't have locks on the doors, but they don't need them because the floor's electrified or whatever it is, and that is very. It is, yeah. It's like a brutalism on like a new level, and it is kind of a. If you think about it too much, it gets quite upsetting, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, this is just another element of the Empire controlling people. You have people at the table who are competing with each other, but then you have Andy Serkis, who is a fellow prisoner, but given a little taste of power, I guess, and now he's also become a jailer, which is fascinating, but something that's been well studied as something that happes.
You give a man a clipboard, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm better than you. You've got to listen to me now. Any chance to get power, I think that's it happens a lot in real life as well. So I think it's really interesting. Definitely adds another dynamic to them putting that in the show with Andy Serkis' character.
Yeah, and I just
sorry.
Go ahead.
They took, he says at the beginning, you won't see the guards again. And you also see, as Castian is going through the intake process, they're having a staffing issue, which makes me think that this is such a brutal place from the guards' point of view, that people who think they can just come in and do this job, they can't stomach it and they leave. And that is possibly part of the reason that you have the inmates running the system. I mean, obviously it's also part of like, the soft power and, prison labor and how we make that work, here in the real world. But there are Imperials who don't realize what they're working for until it's right in their face.
I'm sure the Empire is totally cool with people quitting their jobs, though, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Great severance packages all around,
Yeah. By severance, they mean your head.
Your head. You're probably going to go to prison.
Yeah. So they should call it the F around and find out prison.
No kidding.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they're playing the floor is hot lava on hard mode, and it's just wild. But I like how you said that, like the Empire forces you into these positions. Because we also got Dedra's storyline, where in the last episode, I don't know about y'all, but I was kind of like rooting for her when she stood up to that, to the dude, and she basically smacked him down, and I was like, yeah, get him, like girl boss, gatekeep. And in this episode, I was like, you're going down a path I cannot follow.
It's hard because this show makes me sympathize with people I know are fascists and horrible, like, or they're working for something horrible, but still, like, that human element that this show really demonstrates every episode makes me empathize with them sometimes. And Dedra is a key person. Like, I love the scene where she is trying to present her findings to Yularen, and he's just like, has his head buried in the data pad, reading something else, and she's struggling to present all this stuff with him. And I myself have been in that position a million times where I'm trying to present something to whomever I happen to be working for. The leadership of the company is distracted, going, and then they ask a question totally unrelated to what I'm presenting or something like that. So that kind of stuff just hits me hard. But yeah, she's a bad guy. She's looking for the hero of the story to kill him ultimately. So I'm not supposed to be cheering for her, but I am.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really just a testament to how brilliantly crafted the writing is, because it will make you, even though you have like these awful people like Cyril and Dedra and the entire Empire, you can still empathize with them on some level. It's kind of like Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones. You kind of love to hate her because she's so, minus the last 2 seasons, but she's kind of like so, very compelling, like written very compelling. I can't even talk. It's very, very good writing, is what I'm trying to say. But I think that's a really good thing about Andor. Like, just a testament to how tight the writing is.
Yeah. I there is one thing though that did kill me, and it's what the hell is up with his tie?
Oh my God.
it just shoots out of his neck. What is that?
There's something 70s about it.
What's happening here?
I was literally thinking about this earlier. Like, it really just amused me, like how Star Wars kind of, what's the word? How do I describe it? Like, Star Wars eyes is just the most mundane stuff, and like things that you see in the real world. like that is probably what a tie would look like if it is what a tie looks like in Star Wars, and I think that is the funniest thing ever. that is hilarious to me.
I don't understand the mechanics of how it works. What is
it does
doing?
Look like you could pull it out like a toilet paper roll almost.
It's functional.
If you get something on it, you just like pull it down to the next section. Yeah, I can see. It's like a sideways belt. I don't know, man.
This is the Bureau of Standards. This is the Bureau of Standards tie.
Where are the standards? I mean, the thing is that, and he's been made fun of for this the whole show. This is on purpose. This is a custom tailored suit, and the dude looks in the mirror and is like, turtleneck, tie with no top, V-neck suit. Sure, let's go for it. I don't know. I mean, he's probably straight.
You're not wrong.
I mean, yeah, no one's dressing him for.
No,
that's for damn sure.
I mean, even his own mom was like, "What are you wearing?"
I think these are all little clues, though, that like he may end up defecting. Like right now, what he wants more than anything is justice for his own self. But he also, like, the fact that he tailors his clothes and his mom calls him on like wanting to stand out. Those are tiny little acts of rebellion. And I think him going to Dedra and basically getting, laid flat on his ass by her, that's going to affect him when he goes back to his little cubicle with his stupid tie.
I hate it so much.
A polo tie would be better. It'd be so much better.
Okay, and so we also have kind of what's happening in these ISB meetings. Part of it feels like in this episode everyone is in some form of prison, throughout, and I feel like that's kind of this theme where everyone is trapped in the situation. I'm curious, especially the way that we keep intercutting between Cassian in prison and Mon Mothma at this party of elites who live this exact opposite lifestyle. Yeah, I mean, St. Pat's like, is there something wrong with me? I like that outfit. Good.
I mean, I guess art's subjective,
Cosplay.
right? So,
Please
no,
cosplay it.
you're right though, Choco. Everyone is in their own prison in a way. Even Luthen and Saw, when that whole conversation, and Saw is still stuck in being angry at so many different people. He can't move beyond his emotional prison of hating everybody but his group, essentially. So that really gels with me. Mon Mothma is in danger. I am definitely afraid of her situation the most for some reason. Even though Andor is like he's technically more in danger, her situation is so brutal. And that story about her and her partner and how they got together, essentially arranged marriage, that broke my heart. And so her marriage is a prison, her world is a prison. She goes to the Senate every day. Nobody's there to hear her speak, and she can't get anything done. That's terrible.
And I look at the child who is clearly a pawn in the view of the father. Like he has her aligned with him, but there's something going on between her and that kid that makes me very nervous, both for the kid and Mon Mothma. That is a very influenceable child who is not getting the attention that she needs at home, and all it takes is one person to give her the attention that she wants, and that's a bomb in Mon Mothma's household. But she does get a cookie. She does sneak off. I don't know if anyone else saw this, but there's a green little cookie. It looks just like the cookies that Grogu has in The Mandalorian.
Oh,
so I got a cookie.
I did not see that, but I'll have to check that out again. So part of their Chandrillan custom is that drink that they had, where it's a live worm that you drop in and it like dissolves. And she said, "I've lost my taste for it." Did anyone else? I read that as these people live these opulent lives that, like, it's dissolving a live creature is part of their pastime. And I maybe I'm this might be a big reach, but I felt it was like symbolic of no longer wanting to that oppressive hand, like she's kind of moved beyond her own personal Chandrillan customs and is now a person of the galaxy, trying to look out for everyone, regardless of their level of power or size or species or whatever. That's kind of how I read it. Also, it was disgusting, but
Vita says it's disgusting. Tay says that's the point, and I think that links right back to the opulence of it. Like, the point of this disgusting tradition is that we can do it because we have the money to do it. It doesn't matter how gross it is. We're going to do it because it's money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I read the same. I had the same takeaway, but I also thought, she has to be like alert at all times. The last thing she's going to do is drink anything, probably.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought. I was going to say, like, Choco, that is a much more eloquent viewpoint of it. I literally was just like, well, she's probably not drinking it because she doesn't want to get drunk at this party. She's got stuff to do, the next day, waking up at 9 a.m. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, or poisoned and hauled off to the ISB office or something terrible like that.
Yeah.
Who's pouring those drinks, actually?
Probably some like minimum wage worker who just go home and sleep.
Or a droid. It could be a droid.
Could be a droid.
He's not even get paid anything, so that's worse.
But yeah, the party was interesting though, because there was it was fascinating because they were again, I know people say Star Wars isn't political or whatever, and I'm like, what have you been
What are you talking about? There's no politics in Star Wars. None whatsoever.
Has wars in the name. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where have you been for like nearly 50 years now?
But there's two really big things that jumped out at me. The first one being they talked more about Palpatine's speeches and the way he talked than they highlighted that over the actual policies and laws and things that he's put into place. So and then a consequence of that is, you know, when we have this big action, the board decree, one of the wealthy people says, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then what is there to worry about? You know, and she fires back with, I'm worried about his definition of wrong, which is beautiful. But I'm curious on how you guys feel about those kind of two statements or two ideas.
I mean, it's a reflection of what we argue about every day in our politics, right? You know, I hear that all the time. You know, well, if you have nothing to hide, then why would you be afraid of, you know, this police action or this law, you know, etc. And yeah, the devil's in the details. It always has been, you know, throughout politics and also throughout other things as well. And it's interesting that, like, I guess it's true. I never thought of Palpatine as a great orator, but he is, and obviously a master manipulator. And so their view of him as dad of the galaxy, he's going to protect you, he's going to save you, he's going to maintain order, but he's going to oppress a shit ton of people. I'm sorry, a lot of people to do that. And like, they don't care how he does it because they think that they're immune to that. They're of a high elite class. And so that's such a great metaphor. And I loved Mon Mothma's comeback to that was perfect. And I also love the line earlier in that scene where the guy's like, yo, you're always so sweet when you need the votes. And it's like, of course she's going to be nice to you when she needs something from you. That's how politics works.
Yeah. How about you guys?
I just keep thinking about Perrin's line where he says something like, my wife is trying to save the Empire from the Emperor. Like it's not clicking at all for him in his head that that's an issue. Like the Empire and the Emperor are the same thing to him, and probably for a lot of wealthy elite people in the galaxy.
That's the thing. Like, he's blind to it. Like a lot of those people at the party are. They just don't care because it's like, oh well, all the bad stuff's happening over here. It's not going to affect me. I'm just going to drink my drink with the live worm in it because I can, and I'm not in a prison and you are. And I think like Chris said, like Palpatine's just a master manipulator. It's so far gone at this point, or nearly to that point. Obviously, rebellions are rising up, but he's got a very strong grip on the galaxy to the point where people just don't even. They're like, yeah, whatever. This is just what it is now, I guess.
Yeah. Speaking of bad outfits, I can't get past Perrin's hair. No. I just he's such a. I've never hated a character so quickly as Perrin, and they're doing such a good job with him. And I know that's the purpose. But man, the hair, the costume, everything. There's nothing about him I like.
I just want to throw him off the balcony.
Yeah.
There's really no other option.
Yeah, like that scene where they're talking about how they should admire the view more, and I'm thinking that the last thing Mon Mothma wants to do is stare out to this Coruscant, which is dark, bleak place, and is literally her battlefield. And I was imagining her just like pushing Perrin through the glass and like letting him fall.
Yes.
Might as well.
Absolutely. I'm still waiting.
This is Coruscant. Yeah, I would pay to see that edit. Please, someone do that. He is the biggest tool of all time, and you kind of love him for it, or love how much you hate him for it. I daydream of punching him in the sternum. Just it would just feel really nice on my knuckles. That's all.
I want them to make Perrin piñatas. So I can take him to my nephew's birthday parties and such. Be like, beat him up for me. I'll take pictures. Tell me, how does it feel?
I think like one of my favorite like memes I saw about it was the whole like Perrin. You just know that Perrin had nothing to do with decorating that apartment. That was all Mon. There's no way that this complete idiot who has no respect for his wife, turning their daughter against her. That's how I see it. he had nothing to do with any of that. I wish he fell off that balcony.
Maybe
Uh,
that's coming. Maybe that's going to happen.
I hope so.
Great.
I hope it is.
you know, it's and I want to see a situation where he gets arrested for something Mon Mothma does, and then she just kind of smiles.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
Also, real quick, I also wanted to mention they had the weird shower scene at the prison where it just kind of misted, and I was like, listen, your undercarriage needs some more elbow grease than just that, you know. Like I felt like they just brought him in there and like spritzed some Febreze on him, and that ain't enough. Like unless you're in middle school and that's Axe body spray, you know, it's not a substitute. It doesn't work like that.
Is it some kind of tech? Like maybe it's like Star Wars shower mist that we don't.
It's Bacta mist, right? It like cleanses you all over, you know. I actually hated that scene the most. It gave me some really dark prison camp vibes. I won't say specifically which one on this show, but I hated that scene a lot. It was effective in what it was trying to do, but that was a terrible scene. I hated it.
Fully agree.
I think the purpose of it was for me, you could just feel kind of like the shame and the humiliation that all these men were feeling, and like how that is what, you know, the Empire are trying to do to these prisoners. It's like, we want you to work, but we're also gonna, you know, point and laugh at you and make you feel small while doing it. Like, that scene was probably the most reaction the whole episode was very difficult, but like that scene was like the most I got like a gut reaction out of it. It was really uncomfortable.
I mean, they weren't men at that point. They're cattle.
Yeah.
They're bodies, you know. But all right. Moving on from there, we'll jump back over to Ferrex, which is where we get my beautiful Bix back in the mix. Was not intending that to rhyme, but I'm happy it did. How do you guys feel about where we ended up with the Ferrex storyline? Because we had, you know, them checking on you know, on Cassian's mom. We had some, you know, ramifications of this Imperial garrison setting up in the hotel. Yeah, how did this portion of it hit you guys?
There was no vetch, so I'm mad about that in general. Like, you can't give us this beautiful Erodal and then never show us the man again. It's not okay. So no vetch update. I'm upset.
You know who I need to see again as well? The person who was in the first 2 episodes with like the weird clown face, who was just like hopping around. And there's a guy in the background, and he stole several scenes where I'm just like, what's that dude? Like, what's his deal? And I need to see him again.
Is it the guy with like the black eyes that you kind of just on the side of his? I think Josh from Mesa Windy made a video about him, and I had it in my favorites because I thought it was so funny.
I love. I don't know. If you watch the show Community, he looks like their mascot, the humans.
Oh gosh.
And I don't know. I miss him. I miss him so much. I feel like his show's undefeated with weird looking like glub shitos in the background.
No kidding.
What were you gonna say, Chris?
No, I was gonna say I'm glad. I was worried that we were going to be done with Ferrex a while ago, so I'm glad they're going back to it. I'm glad they're like looping in all those characters. Bix is in so much danger. I am so scared for her at this point. And I don't know. I literally don't know how it's going to go at this stage of the story. But does it feel like I don't know? Does it feel like to y'all? Because they just introduced a ton more characters in the prison stuff. Now we have the characters in Ferrex. We have the characters in Coruscant. There's a lot of characters to keep track of. Like, how are they going to wrap? Like, how are they going to wrap everything up at this point? The cast is so huge. I think this is one of the largest Star Wars casts ever.
Yeah, it has to be.
They might be saving some stuff season 2, maybe. I don't know. I hope they don't all get killed off because that would suck.
Things are gonna start hitting the fan. I mean, we at least got Melshi was introduced in the prison scene. So that was cool. Melshi makes it all the way to the end of Rogue One. Rip Melshi. So we know that's a partner in crime that Andor's going to have and likely escape with. So I guess that's one of them accounted for. but you're right. There's a lot of people wandering around, and I'm really worried for his mom. She's gone rogue.
I mean,
are there rebels on Ferrix, or is this like an older woman who is just like, she is so far gone in her ideals and what she wants for Ferrix that she's just willing to believe that if she opens this tunnel, the rebels will come?
I'm kind of there, like, maybe Marva is sick. Like, maybe she's got some kind of illness. That's why she didn't go with Cassian, in the previous episode, because she's kind of keeping something from him. Maybe it's an illness. And Bix comments on the fact that, oh, you're really cold. And now I'm kind of worried. I'm like, wait, I don't like where this is going, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I made peace with the fact that she's not going to make it to the end of the show. I don't even think she's going to make the end of the next episode. I need that her droid to be protected at all costs, though.
Yes.
I love that droid so much. But again, I'm not expecting anybody but Andor and Mon Mothma to survive the show.
And Melshi, I suppose.
Oh, and Melshi. Yeah, Melshi too.
The Parsons. I think more like the new characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're all up for the chopping block, which is...
Yeah, everyone's on the chopping block. Oh, and Lauren obviously is going to make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely see all the people who are siding with the Empire are going to get run over by the Empire that they helped put up, and I'm going to enjoy the hell out of it. But that's my prediction for them, at least. And then I think that I think that we're going to see so the tunnel that Marva was opening up. I think that line was dropped in there as a nugget for us, and I think that's how Bix is ultimately going to be saved in the upcoming episode, right? Because I think we there is now a rebel presence on it, and Bix is the most likely person to help lead you back to Cassian, especially if he loses his mom. And I can see Cinta going in there and helping break him out. I don't know, how do you guys feel about it?
I hope so. But I don't know. I mean, this show has gotten to such a dark place now. Anything is possible. I could see them almost breaking Bix out, and they go through the tunnel. At the end of the tunnel, she actually gets shot by a stormtrooper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, something terrible like at this point. At this point, the show is so dark and bleak. I am just expecting this to rip my heart open.
I really hope they don't kill Bix. I hope that at least maybe they could do like a thing where she's just kind of tucked away nicely, so they can maybe bring her back for like a comic or something, or a book in the future, kind of like Kira. But,
I would love that.
Yeah, but like you said, the show is so bleak at this point. I don't even know if that's going to happen. But
yeah, and
I just keep thinking of the manifesto, Nemec's manifesto, which is still in the shower in that hotel. The only way they get that back is if someone else who cares about Nemec rescues Cassian.
Oh.
So I feel like if Vel or possibly Cinta break Cassian out of prison, then maybe they'll go back and get the manifesto. But I feel like them showing us exactly where that is, nothing in this show is unintentional. Everything is very there for a reason. And I feel like there's so many little clues. Like, I'm still hung up on Skeen's tattoos and what those meant for Cassian, and possibly being why he was shot by Cassian when he was. There's a reason they showed us where that manifesto was.
Mm-hmm.
I think Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead.
I mean, I completely forgot about the manifesto being there, but obviously they really did kind of set it up. Well, I feel like they set it up as this really big thing that kind of turns Cassian's like changes his mind almost, and is like, I'm gonna fight with the rebellion. So now Emily, I'm like, how the hell are they gonna get that back? Because that's on the Space Miami. So like, how are they
Space
gonna
Miami.
It was Space Miami. Come on, like I'm just flying over the ocean. Like that's just Florida. Like,
I get a Tampa vibe personally, but it's Space Florida.
yeah.
I think Cassian needs to stay away from beaches. I think that's the moral of the story.
Sure.
Beaches just don't work out for him at all. He needs to go like to the mountains or the desert, not the beach.
This show's just like Cassian getting traumatized on a beach, basically. A series of events.
Mm.
And so this time also brings us back to, no longer can rock with Dedra. The way, well, first of all, it was interesting because they talked about how now that the hotel has been taken over, that has negatively affected everyone's business. The Empire just, we're going to take this because it's big, but like that was essential for the livelihood of this community. And so I think that's interesting. That speaks volumes about about how the Empire works in and of itself. But also we get the scene where they're bringing Bix up, and they ask, "Do you want to get him out of the room?" And Dedra was like, "No, I want her to see him." And then she pretends like she wasn't supposed to see it. And at that point, I was like, "Okay, I hate you now."
Right?
Yeah, you're the worst. That part hurt.
I think that's like the really interesting thing about Dedra's character, because I know that the actress, I apologies, I forget her name. I know that she talked about it, how because she's a woman, she has to talk like twice as loud and work twice as hard. And you'd think that her being oppressed under this system would stir her more to like help someone like Bix. But I think it's just that thing of like, it's more, I don't know how to word it. It's like a woman carrying out the oppression under that
It's like
same
internalized
system.
oppression.
Yeah, do you know? Yeah, internalized. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, and it sucks that she's doing that to someone who could have, someone like Bix, someone like her, or someone who could have been like her. And I think that is a really interesting thing. And yes, Joker, that definitely made me hate her a lot more than I already did. So
yeah, it's the thing where like as soon as you make it, you slam the door behind you so that you can point and laugh at the other people, and you're like, you were just here with us, like don't, it's just. But again, the show has layers, has a lot of layers. All right, so I think kind of the last thing that I wanted to bring up is have us all talk about is now we get to Luthen's storyline and his visit to Saw, which I know Stardust M has been doing Saw Gerrera watch, so she's going to be very, very happy.
I was thinking.
So yeah, let's talk about what Luthen was going through, that conversation, and then also if you guys have want to touch on the relationship that we saw between Senta and Vel, because we saw them have a very interesting and deep conversation as well. But yeah, well, what do you guys what jumps at you with those ones?
Yeah, I mean, I do want to talk about Senta and Vale. I thought that conversation was so poignant because it kind of revealed that Vale's background is a little bit more of nobility, which I forgot who said it, but somebody suspected that she could be Luthen's daughter or relative somehow. So that was really, really interesting. But I also kind of wondered what it would be like to be in a relationship with a rebel when you're in the rebellion. One of them, Senta, is clearly far more serious about it than Vel is, which is interesting. And I unfortunately, that is another thing that's going to break my heart this show, because I feel like that dynamic is going to play out. And Vel is probably going to be willing to throw everything away for Senta, but Senta's not.
Yeah.
Cinta's gonna fight, go fight for the rebellion no matter what, and that's gonna kill me. But I have to. I love the representation. I hope we get some affectionate scenes between them just to have it on screen. But yeah, that's gonna be another thing that's gonna break my heart.
Yeah, I think that like it is a really it is kind of funny to me though how there are still people questioning like, are they together? Are they in love? And it's like,
Yes, they're together.
yeah, of course they are. Like immediately when they were introduced in I think it was episode 4, I was like, are they? Are they? You know, and then,
You know.
and then it kind of became more obvious as the episodes went on, and it is very hammered home in episode 8 that no, these two people are together, and this relationship is probably going to kill all of us and break our hearts, which is really upsetting because I want more of it. You know, I think it is a really interesting dynamic, just in the sense that Vel seems to be from a more prestigious background, and Cinta clearly isn't. Based on the way that they interact.
Vel cleaned up nicely when she visited Coruscant.
Yeah, she did.
I didn't recognize her at first.
Yeah. She knew how to be on that planet. She knew what she needed to look like and how to act. And
which would imply that she's lived there.
Or at least like a prestigious planet, like I don't know, like Naboo, or even Chandrilla maybe. Things like
that. Yeah, but that conversation of like the cause will always come first, and you're like, that hurts, but I get it. And then now the question becomes, because Val was very much loyal to her people, and was upset about what happened to the people that were part of her group. But Cinta is so much more focused on the cause, and so when you're aligned, I'm sure nothing can stop them. But what happens when the cause and the people get separated? And I think that's what we're Jill on Advanced says Cinta will kill Andor if she can. Vel might give him a chance.
Yeah,
I agree with that. Yeah, 100%.
It's kind of giving me like Lost Stars vibes almost, and I'm like, please don't pull a Thane and Sienna on me, please. Like, not that like Cinta would defect or anything, but just sort of that dynamic of like the doomed lovers, if you will.
Look through my eyes.
Oh no, you're gonna break my heart again. I just cried
which, by the way, we got a brief Thane sighting in the book Princess and the Scoundrel. That made me so happy.
I did.
I still haven't read that one.
It was good. I really enjoyed it. I read it in like 4 days.
Dang, I'm still trying to get through Path of the Seed. So
it's not been published in the UK yet. I can't get it.
Really? Oh my goodness!
I thought it was like, oh yeah, October 3rd. Like that's when it's coming out, right? Oh no, just America. Great. I have to wait a month. I think it's being published in like the 3rd of November.
Oh, and you can't even get it on Audible or anything like that?
I prefer to read like
fair.
The physical. They all look nice on my shelf, so
yeah. But yeah, no, I love that relation. I hope we do get more from them. Don't give it to us just to take them away. But they might.
They will.
but then we get what's going on with Luthen and his conversation with Saw, which I think Forrest Whitaker gave a powerhouse performance in. Saw's is not quite crazy yet.
He's a little, but he's always been a little
on the edge.
He's always been a little. I feel like he was absolutely unhinged in Rogue One, and parts of the book Rebel Rising, and here at least he's lucid at this point in time. we'll
maybe the death of his sister Steela dying. I think that might have been the beginning of him like his descent into madness. I think maybe.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like there thinking, is Saw gonna get involved with the proposition that Luthen brings to him? And is that how he gets all, effed up in his body and stuff? Like he's got all those tubes coming out of him in Rogue One. I'm like, how does he end up like that? Are we gonna see that in Andor? I mean, that's what
I never even thought about that. Are we gonna see Bor Gullet?
Oh God, I hope not. I hate that guy.
I it's my sincere hope that we see Borgullet, but in a weird, like, kind of mundane way, where like they hop in a ship and Borgullet's piloting or something. And you're like, what the hell? And like, don't worry about that. Sometimes it, like, destroys people's brains. Sometimes it flies a ship. I don't know.
It's fine. It's fine. Just fly casual.
The fact that there's more than one boar, like there's multiple of this creature out there that do this horrible thing.
Yeah.
So like even though boar dies on Jeddah, there's another one.
Oh, there's got to be more. Yeah.
There's one in Afro that's a different.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really? I haven't read the Afro comics yet, so I'm getting around to it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're a fan of the representation, Afro is the place to get it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But the way though that we see these people who are also, okay.
What do you got to say about this? What's your thoughts on Andor episode 8?
I thought mine was going to be a problem tonight, but
See, I keep thinking I want a cat, and then stuff like this happens whenever I'm recording stuff with people.
They want in. They want to take my towels.
Yeah, sometimes it's playtime for the cat, and it's not that. That's not supposed to be that. So I have to let it eat my hand off screen, and then it goes wild like that. Anyhow, maybe lose my thought a little bit. No, but Saw is also in prison by his staunch stance on his beliefs, and there's these other groups out there, and if they stood up together they could do something. But no, not that they're former separatists, so no. And this, like, there's different factions and they're fighting the same fight, but they're doing it for different reasons. And the question is, can they overcome what separates them in order to fight the common goal? And it's really interesting the way that the show has been framing, like, how exactly does a rebellion form out of nothing, because these people don't have a reason to trust each other. Are they all fighting their own private wars? What do you guys how do you guys feel about that?
Well, I thought to myself when I was listening to this conversation, what is the trigger that gets most of these groups to work together? Obviously, Saw is still going to continue to be a outlier up to Rogue One, but it dawned on me that it's most likely we'll see a moment where Luthen sacrifices himself, and that inspires at least a large group of people, a lot of these groups, to align and become the Rebel Alliance, or what we know as the Rebel Alliance. But man, Luthen has a lot of work to do if he's even going to convince Saw to bend at all. Saw is completely unrelenting, and he will not compromise. And I love that. And I agree with you, Choco. Like, his performance was Saw. It was classic Saw, and still angry, still crazy, still a train wreck. And I'm looking forward to seeing more. But yeah, Luthen's probably gonna do something crazy that's gonna get all these groups to finally join together.
Yeah, I've been thinking about in Rogue One, I always thought from what Mon Mothma said that there was a point where Saw had been aligned with the rebellion and that they kicked him out or that he left. And I'm seeing from Andor, it's like he never would have joined them to start with. Like, it feels like Saw is just, he's never going to be a part of the larger rebellion. And that's why they send in Jin. I didn't see this coming. I thought that Saw was actually going to be a part of an original group and then branch off. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I'm thinking now, like, when Jin goes to Jeddah and she meets with Saw, he says the line, "Did they send you here? Did they send you here to kill me?" And I'm thinking now, based on what we've seen in the newest episode, like, what happened between them? Does he say that in Rogue One because of something that happened with the rebellion, sort of years before? And I think it will be interesting to see where they go with that. And maybe even the partisans can be like a sort of a sword for hire type thing. Maybe they just get involved in like a few missions, and get paid for it. and that's where the whole thing with Mon Mothma saying, they branched off and did their own thing. But I'm interested to see where they go with that.
I feel like Saw's going to do something
Crazy.
as
Yeah.
per norm,
Mhm.
but he's going to do something to also send the message. Him and Luthen are talking about how what they need is for the Empire to become more oppressive, because if the Empire was more oppressive, then more people would stand up, or they would stand up faster, which is a scary thought. That's not untrue.
Yeah, they're really speaking the same language.
Yeah, and so I need to know what
They're on the same level
is.
with that, just like
Yeah. And so I'm hoping that something like that happens, and they do something, absurd. We know Saw has blown up buildings with people in them, not caring.
But they called him a terrorist in Rogue One, didn't they?
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm thinking it's going to be something horrible like that. Like it's going to be an act of terror that's going to be at a huge scale, and I'm going to hate to see it, but I'm also going to be like, that's Saul being Saul. Go Saul,
And I want them to shoot each other, Luthen and Saw. Disagreement. Wow. They both reach an impasse. Neither one is movable. They both shoot each other, and Luthen doesn't make it, and that's why he has to have breathing apparatus and stuff like that.
Wow.
Over what his future action is going to be, but that action will create more impression, which will then prompt more people to stand up. That's what I'm predicting. But yeah, I mean, those are overall my thoughts. Is there anything? What are you guys predicting is going to happen in the next episode? So we know this was part 1 of a 3-episode arc. And then after this is just going to be like a two-parter, right? So what are we anticipating seeing? And as we're wrapping up here, why don't we go around again and let's just see if what you guys' final thoughts on the episode is.
It was a really solid episode, in my opinion. I mean, all episodes with Andor, it's been amazing. Like, I've been really, truly blown away by the quality of the show. And as someone who's been a Rogue One fan since they were 15 when it came out, all those years ago, like, someone who loves Cassian as a character so much, like, I'm really, really happy that this is probably shaping up to be the best live-action Star Wars show on Disney+. I think with the next episode, I'm really interested to see what all that sign language stuff was about in the prison. I think that potentially the prisoners who are already there are maybe planning their own kind of rebellion within the prison. Because we know that from the trailer as well, there's that shot of Cassian like jamming something into, I don't know what it is, and it kind of like makes the power go down and stuff like that. And he's in that uniform. So I think that maybe they're going to be formulating their own kind of escape within the arc, and that's what this arc is going to build up to at the end.
Yeah.
I don't think a prison break is going to happen next episode. I think it's going to be all set up for the prison break. So I think it's going to be more of the same. I think there's a good chance that something terrible is going to happen to Luthen and or Mon Mothma. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for the next episode.
Yeah. How about you, Emily?
I mean, I've just been thinking about the acting that Diego Luna has been doing and the way he's been expressing Cassian's signs of PTSD. I have PTSD, and the entire time he's in the prison, from the time he's in intake, he looks like he's going to throw up or pass out, and it just progresses more and more. And we saw a scene with him on Aldhani where I think Gorn touches him or Terriman touches him, and his reaction to that is very much like a post-traumatic response. And I'm wondering if we're going to get an inkling as to where that comes from in the next episode, because right now he's not adjusting to prison because it's something that he's accepted. He's adjusting because there's literally no other option. and that's where we see him at the end of this episode.
I think, like, to add on to that point, there was that shot of like a Cassian when they're kind of standing in that hallway, and he's just got the most dead look on his face, and the audio as well, the sound design, it kind of like drowns out the other sound. It sounds muffled, like that really hit me, I think, emotionally, and is a really big testament to Diego Luna's acting. I'm really happy that he's getting his chance to sort of another chance to shine in the sun, I think, because he deserves it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much. I know that the episode was a bit of a downer. Chris, I wouldn't blame you if you waited until like 2 weeks so you could see this 3-episode arc together. And then
I mean, the consequence of making podcasts and such is that there's like no way for me to avoid social media, right? So if I wait, then I'm going to get spoiled, and so I might as well just watch it. But that's kind of where I'm at. It's tough. This weekly Disney, the weekly release schedule is brutal. Stop it. Just stop it. Cut it out. So.
You know what's funny though is I think I was recently rewatching some episodes of Daredevil, and thinking to myself, what if this was released week to week, like modernly? And I think it would get a lot of hate because there are episodes in the middle that are just kind of slog fest and don't. It's interesting how something is released affects deeply people's views of it. But so we can end this on a more positive note. We're going to go around, and once again, you can let us know who you are, where we can find your awesome content, and end with telling me what is your favorite positive moment being part of the Star Wars fandom. We're gonna end this on a high note. Hopefully we'll get some people in the chat sharing theirs as well. And then of course, if there's anything else we missed in the episode, or if you guys have any events or things coming up that you want to plug, feel free to do it now. But we will start.
So I've got Chop coming in. He's just in the courts.
Let's start with Aaron.
Well, once again, you can find me on TikTok at @space. The O is an X, and there's an underscore in the middle. You can also find me on Instagram at jin.andors. And I think my most positive experience that I've had with Star Wars, honestly, is through discovering the online community through TikTok. Like, I think that this is the most active and involved I've been with Star Wars since I became a fan of it back in like late 2015 after The Force Awakens came out. And just the amount of like amazing people that I've met, like my mutuals. Like, I know that me and Choco have been mutuals for about a year now, I think. And like Danielle, Emily, Steph at Dark Side Divas, so many other amazing creators that I really feel like we all have kind of like an understanding, and the spaces that we create, these safe spaces where we are all just positive and we respect everyone's opinions and everyone is welcome. Like, the Star Wars fandom gets such a bad reputation, but I don't feel that as much anymore because everyone is just so nice. So I would say, like, well, most people are so nice, but I would say that like me being on Star Wars TikTok and like the little community that I've kind of carved out for myself on there is probably, that's probably my happiest thing got out of Star Wars, I think. And I'm excited for Star Wars Celebration next year because hopefully I will meet some of my mutuals there for the first time. That'd be really cool, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. How about you, Emily? Can you hear me? It looks like you might be freezing up a little bit.
Uh-oh.
I know Emily told me her Wi-Fi is spotty, but we made it the whole episode. So if this is where they cut out, it wouldn't be the worst place. Emily, can you hear me? All right. Well, we'll go to Chris.
All right. You can find me. I have 3 podcasts: Dark Side Divas, Marvelous Divas, and For Light and Dice. Definitely check them out if you haven't checked them out already. Also, I have a Patreon for the first 2 podcasts, patreon.com/Divas podcast. For $5 a month, we have a really great community of people. Emily's one of them, and she's totally awesome. And that is my favorite thing that I have been a part of. I'm going to second Aaron's statement. There are a lot of toxic Star Wars fans, if you can believe it. But having met you all and hanging out with you all has been amazing. I've made so many friends through the community, and I love that. And it's never been a better. There's never been a better time to be a Star Wars fan or a geek in general. It's just what an age we live in. I love it.
Yeah, age of the geek. And I'm what. I apologize because I can't remember if it was explained at the beginning. Your third podcast. What is it about?
Yeah, it's a tabletop role playing game podcast. So we merge kind of like the radio play aspects where you have background music and such, but it's a group of if you like D&D and Critical Role and that kind of stuff, it's along those veins where it's a group of players telling a story together. It's set in the High Republic era of Star Wars, so we have a lot of deep references to the certain aspects of that. But in general, I would classify it as a comedy podcast because it's been pretty funny so far.
Definitely will have to check that out. We actually did one here on this channel where I was set in the High Republic as well. And so yeah, that's those VODs are here. And then also I know as part of the Pink Milk community, they're doing one as well. Is that yeah, so always fun. I'm working on another one myself, but more information on that will come. Last but certainly not least, Emily, where can we find you? And it's been your most positive.
Hey, sorry, I glitched out there for a minute.
Yeah, no worries.
Honestly, the TikTok community has just been absolutely amazing. I'm 40 years old, so joining TikTok was kind of weird for me, but it's just been really wonderful to be on this part of TikTok and in the Star Wars community as a woman in fandom and be welcomed. I got into Star Wars in 2020, so I'm actually pretty new in the space in general, and I don't think I could have picked a better time to come into the fandom, honestly.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, like, the fandom honestly was kind of in a very dark place. I want to say from like 2017 to maybe like the late 2010s. I don't know well, we all know what happened, but like it wasn't a fun place to be in. I was kind of out of it for like a year and a half, sort of like 2019, mid, to like late 2020, sort of when the Mandalorian season 2 came back. And it was Star Wars TikTok that kind of brought me back into that. And, so yeah, it's a really great time to be in Star Wars fandom. I'm glad you're in it now and not, mid 2018 when it was just honestly awful.
Well, I mean, those dark times are why I make content.
Yeah.
I kept hearing these weird conversations, and as someone that was deep in books and deep in the lore, and I'm like hearing all this weird, I'm like, listen, if you're gonna be mean, don't be wrong as well. So that's the starting point. Let's correct a lot of these misconceptions and then move on from there. But yeah, that's why I started. But yeah, I have Dan and Force saying best memories victory celebration at Celebration Anaheim with all my found family. Awesome. Chilling in the basement was found Star Wars Theory and then Josh, and then through them me, which is awesome. I appreciate you, Chillin. Polk, who's one of the OGs, was like, I do get shocked when in real life people are much more negative than here. But it's cool because this is, in your real life, you are around people mostly based off of proximity, Here, this is all based off of shared interests, shared life experiences, or not even shared life experience, but willingness to experience each other's lives through each other's eyes. And it's been a wonderful thing, So I want to thank you guys for coming on here. I would love to have each and every one of you guys back on in the future for other things. So yeah, if there's anything in particular you guys want to talk about, let me know. I want to thank everyone in the chat here: St. Pat, Polk Nation, Chill in the Basement, Diet in the Force, Nemu, Ikafik. I don't know how to say that. Tim's Talk, Darthman86, always a bunch of awesome people, so I really appreciate it. That's why I love making content. So we'll wrap up here, but I do know that our friends over at Pink Milk moved their podcast to Wednesday, so they are live right now if you want to continue to hear people talk about Star Wars after this. But yeah, that is all for now. Thank you everyone for joining me, and may the
Thank you for
force
having me.
be with you always.
Thank you all so much.